This is a very simple method of doing a double exposure. If I jump into Photoshop, I've got this image here. I'm just going to quickly clear cut it. So I'll go up here, Object Selection Tool. It's going to try and mask. Right, it's going to select this image for me. If I want to refine it around the here, I can just hit Select and Mask. This is going to give me an option here where under the view I can view it as a transparency, or I can view it as an overlay, or I can view it on white, black as well. What will I go for? I'll try overlay. I'll go to this option here, the refine edge. Make the brush a little bit bigger by hitting the right square bracket. Just enlarge up on this a bit. The brush can maybe come down a bit smaller, and I'm painting through here. So I'm getting the transparency around the edge of the hair. But on the front, and you can come into areas, front of the beard, make the brush a bit smaller with the left square bracket, and you can do the same thing. You can run around and it just softens that edge a wee bit. Might get a little bit funny around here because there's actually a shadow from the flash when I took the photograph, but I'll go OK. I can now hit the quick selection tool and I've got my mask. With the adjustment layers, I can click on here and I can pick solid color, change that color to white, drag it down below the other layer. So we've got a rough kind of cutout here. If I want, I can add an adjustment layer to that as well, just the levels. And oh, excuse me. And I can, I don't know, give it a wee bit more contrast. Now I'm going to go File, Open, go to the folder I want. I've got some photos here, and the one I'll go for is this foggy image that I've taken. Oops. Now I can drag that down, and with the arrow key I'm just going to drag it across, drag and drop. Just the thing about the profiles are a bit different. Command T. Just going to scale it down a wee bit, and while it's here I'm going to change the opacity down a bit, just so I can see how it's lining up with the head. And I'm going to put it here somewhere. I'll make it a bit bigger so it hits the back of this hairline. And essentially what I've got is I've got the bush curving down, so it kind of lines up with the edge of the hair, and then this is above the eyebrow. So I'll hit return. That enters that in, and I can chuck it back up to 100%. Now on this selection, the new layer that I've just made, I'm going to get the quick selection tool, and I'm just going to drag around that sky. So I'm actually going to knock that sky out, but I'll go Command D. Actually, before I do it with the selection, I'm going to try with the levels. So another adjustment layer, levels, and I can actually kind of knock it out that way rather than doing a selection. So it'll give a nice reworking around the edge. So I'll close that. I don't want it to affect everything that's below there, so hold down the Option key, go between those two layers, and it's just clipped to that photo now. The same with this one here. If I don't want it to affect the color, if I change it underneath, I just Option between the two and click them together. Now with this setup, I'm going to make another adjustment layer, and I'm going to go black and white. I'm not going to mess around with that at the moment. I'm just going to put it right at the top so it affects everything that's underneath it. Now really all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start using the masking process. So with this, the first thing I'll do is I'll hold down the Command and Option, grab that mask, and I'm going to put a copy beside the image of the road, and this just cuts it down so it's the same as the head. You'll see now that I've got a bit of a halo thing that's happening here. If I click on the mask and I go to the paintbrush and it's white, I can just paint that out. Might want the brush to be a bit softer when it gets in closer here. That's it. And then with the other image, I can start to eat back into it. But with this one here, I'm going to have a soft brush. I'm going to move the opacity right down, make the brush a bit bigger with the right square bracket, and foreground color needs to be black because it's going to block it, and you can see that it's starting to utilize the mask and eat back into this this image a wee bit. And I come up here, you can see the ear starting to come through. I won't bring that through too much. I'm going to come around here and I'm just going to bring that eye in a little, smooth where the building kind of comes down into the eyebrow. So I'm just keep clicking and dragging, and it's softening that mask a wee bit. Now I'll try this mask here. Whoops. I see. So this little bit that's come in here is because I was using the white. So I'm just going to put it up to 100%. Remember, black is my foreground color, will block it. And now I can just kind of, whoops, went too far. Knock out some of these little areas. So I'm on the mask. White is going to block it. Whoops. So it's going to show it through. Black is going to block it. And this here that's showing up here must be coming through from the other mask. So when I click on that one, I can take that little bit out. And there we go. We end up with the double exposure. Now, if I just get rid of this stuff here for a minute, I'll forget about the black and white one. I'll just get rid of some of this stuff. File, I'm going to open up that image again. Drag it in. It's clipped, which is kind of interesting as well. This is another way we can do it with it just being option between the two, clipping it, and then again this can have a mask attached to it. And you can simply start to rub it away. The reason that I did two separate images before and didn't have them clipped together is because I wanted the white space to kind of seep into this head nice and easily, and it was the easier way for me to do it. So with this, I'll get rid of that mask, dragging it to the trash can, unclip these two together, and I'm just going to pull the opacity down again so I can see what it's going to look like in comparison to the other image. Command T. It's going to let me transform it and rotate it. And this time, see if we can do a different kind of angle. So I'm trying to line up the curve of that bush, hitting this the back of the sweatshirt, and again lining up there. And actually, I'm just going to stretch it a wee bit. I know it's a wee bit off, but I'll go OK. Hit return. I can bump this back up to 100%. Again, I'm going to use the levels on this one, so I'll give it an adjustment layer, and just to try and clean up that sky a wee bit. I'll clip it so it doesn't affect the image of me underneath. It's just working with this image here. Again, if I want to go Command and Option on that mask and drag it up, it's going to clip it to the other image. Now with this, I can, whoops, white is my foreground color. Again, get rid of that halo from the hair that's sitting there. And I'm just going to enlarge up on this a wee bit, reduce it down. Actually going to paint that bush back in. So now, instead of it following the sweatshirt, that bush is kind of bumping up and coming in again. So back to the mask, again, right square bracket. I've moved the, oops, yeah, the wrong one, the opacity I want to take down. And black to block it. Make sure I'm on the right mask. You know, and I just have to keep clicking and dragging. It's a lot soft to this one, getting rid of that straight line. Make it a bit smaller with the left square bracket, and just trying to bring the iron a little bit. Just bringing in the nostril, I'm leaving the white lines going across there. And I might just take it to here. I'm not going to do around the bottom of the chin. And again, eating into this bush a wee bit. Trying to smooth it out a wee bit. And we get a slightly different variation. This one here, the black and white, if I double click on that, I can play away around with some of these color combinations to see how it's going to affect it. Oh, that's made it a bit too dark. You've also got options here where it talks about maximum black or maximum white, so you can work with some areas so darker. I just want to work with the darker areas and get things just how I want. So you can kind of modify what you're playing with. This as well, if I click on it, will let me go and pick specific areas, and then I can kind of mess around with that. It'll happen right across the image, but it's affecting just the kind of the colors where, or the shades or the tones where I selected it. Close that. The other thing here as well is if you hold down Command Option Shift E, it will actually make a copy. So I can switch all these other layers off. It's taken all these layers and it's grouped it into just one. Sometimes if you want to play around with things, it's a bit easier to work with this. So the reason I did that is I can come in here now and I can File, Open, and I'm going to pick a texture. Yeah, okay, we'll go for a texture, not a tag. Go with this one. Open. I'm going to go Command A, select all, cut it, and close it. Now I can come into the channels, make a new channel. I always start with white. White's the background color, so Command Delete, paste, Command T. I'm just going to make that a bit bigger. If I want to see how it relates to the image underneath, hit the eye, and you can see the mask being the red. I'm actually going to spin this around because I don't want too much affecting the face. I'll go okay with that. Command D. I can inverse it. Command I. It's just the eye that's showing the red, so I've got that. Select it. And now layers, if I come in here, click on that layer, make a mask. Oops, it's the wrong way around. Didn't need to invert it, so I can go Command I. And it's now masking this image. This texture through here that you can see coming through, it's actually just transparency, because remember this whole thing as an image now. So if I come down here and I just switch on the white, that's what we'll end up with. This is a mask as well. So remember, I can get my paintbrush, make it a bit smaller, and whoops. White. Oh, it's because I've still got it on 35%. I put it up to 100. So white, if I want to knock out some of these areas, so I can still see the eye. I can, delete textures where I don't want to see it so much. This can also be unlocked. And click on that, and that means now with the arrow key, I can still shift that kind of transparent texture around until it suits the kind of image that I want. Okay, we'll stop there.